All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Gene coming from Phoenix 15 Studios Music. We got a very special guest today, our first artist interview, Super5Stoned out of Texas. Give him a hand, everybody. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely, man. So it's Monday. What's the day look like today?
Day to day, man, is every day, firstly, family first, a family man before anything, got a great wife of almost 6 years now, got two incredible daughters. So father duty comes before anything, as you know.
Yeah,
and after that, it's music,
Wow.
music, and music.
Yeah, man. It's dedication. Dedication.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
so let's get right into it, man. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in music, and what are some of your main inspirations? What made you want to get started?
Definitely. Music for me has been, and you hear a lot of people say this, I started music as, when I was 4 or 5 years old. For me,
Right.
I started literally pursuing rap, particularly, growing up in late 90s in Houston. Zero, Slim Thug, Community, Lil Kiki, all the Houston influences now that have became trademark names there,
Right.
Hugely influenced my music, because at the time it's freestyle rap.
Yeah.
True, legit freestyling, not what you see nowadays where people have it written, they have it scripted. So for me, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to these guys, I'm like, man, this is dope.
Yeah.
These guys are able to sit here and come off the top of their head, right, and just spit bars, and not just words, but bars, and paint you a picture of the time. And it's like, okay, this is dope.
Yeah.
So for me, my first time freestyle, I was with one of my best friends named Jesse, riding a bike, man. Riding bikes, 14 years old, and we just started freestyling.
Wow.
And that's how it started. Was he's like, you got a talent with this. How do you know how to do it? So it's a sponge. It's like a sponge. I absorb everything and listen. And so it started from 14. I put out my first mixtape when I was 16, then took off some time to get through school, 21, 22, started doing it again, but I didn't have the drive that I have now. I'm at 35 now, and I learned a lot. I've past 3 years, I've done this professionally now. I have been signed before, and I tell every artist I come into, it's not needed.
Right.
It's not needed.
Absolutely.
Independent might be harder. It might take you a little bit. It's not that, like we talked about earlier, it's not that in my hand now, and people want now. And for artists specifically, it doesn't matter just in the music business, it's literally in any artistic form that you do, longevity is key, right?
Yeah.
For me, that's what I want, longevity. I don't want to sit and do one track that's a banger, right? And people are like, oh, I love this. Or if you do one piece of one painting, that's incredible, right? You leave people wanting more. Right. But then you just stop and you say, okay, I'm good. I got what I wanted. And so music, I tell people all the time, it can be music, art, whatever you do. It's either a hobby for some people or it's a passion. And when you have a passion for something, I tell people, run after it, man. That's your gift. Everybody has a gift in this life, no matter what it is that you do. We all have a gift and a purpose. It's up to you, once you find that, to run with it. Right. And a lot of times I've noticed people won't go after what they want because of one thing. It's called fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of people sitting there saying, why are you doing this? This is stupid. You can't do it. And all that really is, if you think about it, is they cannot do what you're doing. Yeah. So why do you let that? And I tell people, I used to be, that affected me for a long time. That's why it took me a while to get to where I just finally was like, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. I was a cook, right? I'm not supposed to be a cook for my life, man. That's not my, I appreciate it pays my bills. It paid my bills at the time, and it helped me, but that's not my gift and my passion. So I had one of my good friends that bought me my studio out of his pocket, man. He sat there and he goes, why are you not doing music? He goes, you have more talent in a pinky finger, bro, than I've seen out of anybody. And he's like, why are you not doing it? And for some reason that just clicked. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. Yeah. Really good. So I pushed it, and now fast forward to now, I got 5 EPs, 6 albums out in the past 2.5 years.
And all of those are on Spotify for people to listen to?
Yes, sir. Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, you name any type of platform, I'm on it.
The whole catalog.
Yes, sir.
That's good. So you said a mouthful there. So let's chop some of that up. Let's start with the mindset of releasing something into the world at 16 years old.
At that time, okay, that's a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. So it's like you're 16.
Right.
You're still learning who you are. You're learning about the world. You're very sometimes impressionable, and
Yeah.
you take people's input to what you do and what you say a lot differently at 16 than what you would putting out something now.
Definitely.
How was that experience for you? What were some of the positives and negatives of putting something out that young and kind of waiting for people's input and reactions to it?
I think at that time, literally at that time, when I put stuff out, my mindset at the time was, I'm so dope. Everybody's gonna love this. I'm so dope. You know, it's just some of the best music ever out, right?
Right.
And the reality of it, there's a select group of people that liked it at the time that were my friends, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking about like back in the day compared to now, that was trying to move it out of the back of trunks of cars. There was no internet. There was no, here, let me put it on Spotify or get it distributed. This was, you literally had to go out into the streets if you wanted people to hear your music. And if you wanted feedback, you're going to get it.
Right.
Regardless of if you thought it was going to be good or not. So, but my mindset then, and I'm still proud of it today, was I did something I always wanted to do. You know, when you're told, why are you doing this? You're not going to make it. You can't do it. And then you do it. Not only did you prove those people wrong, but you proved it to yourself.
Yeah. It's amazing where that negativity can come from sometimes. Like sometimes it can come from family. Like your family is telling you, you need to go get a real job. You need to do this. Oh, why are you, asking you, why are you doing that? Like kind of pushing off their insecurities on you. So it's amazing to be 16 and have the confidence to put yourself forward and put yourself out there. You mentioned someone helping you out to get a studio and have a place to work. You mentioned friends being your biggest supporters around your music. How important do you think that is? Because some people kind of push through. They have all negativity around them and they drive through and still get it done. And then there's people that just have a core of support and they're able to kind of build themselves on that core and that platform. Which do you think is more beneficial? Do you think it's, better to come out of a totally negative and build yourself into something huge? Or is it better to have that core of supporting you when nobody else does and then kind of come on top?
That's a good question. And you know what? It could be a little bit of both, honestly, because there's times when, and I learned this in the very beginning, right? About 3 years ago when I started really taking my music seriously and really pushing it, I started seeing a lot of fake friends. Okay, a bunch of fake friends. People that when you're struggling, you didn't have anything. You weren't doing any of this. Right. They're not around, right? But now all of a sudden you're starting to make a little name for yourself. You're starting to push stuff. People are recognizing you. Oh, hey man, I support you. I want to hang out with you. I cut all of that out immediately. Immediately, and so I have two people that truly supported me from the beginning. One is my wife, and she's been incredible. And the thing about her is she's not just from my wife's perspective, it's from a fan's standpoint. Right. So she'll tell me once I do a track, I let her hear it first. And she'll be like, that's not it. Yeah. And I could have spent 3 hours on it, man, right? And be like, oh, this is awesome. And she'll be like, that's not it. Yeah. And then also my friend Blake, who bought me the studio. That's my support.
Shout out to Blake, man. Shout out to Blake.
Oh, Blake, and I told him, when I make it big, when I get my first big check, and I'm a man of my word, I said, I will put you a down deposit on the house. Yeah, as soon as I get it, because he believed in me, man, when it was only my wife. He took me to Guitar Center. He's like, bro, I'm buying you a studio. I said, what? He goes, wow. You need a studio.
That's huge.
Right.
I build, as far as like just equipment and things you use, it's been like a cobbled together setup over the years that just evolved. Like I had one cousin, He was based in South Carolina, down in Greenwood, South Carolina. Then moved over to Dover, Delaware, and now he's in New Mexico.
Right.
Every time he upgraded something, I would get his hand-me-downs. And I
Yeah.
would just kind of plug his new hot shit into my old crappy shit, and just kind of, and he just kept blessing me with all these things over the years, over and over and over.
Right.
And eventually I got to the point where I could buy my own stuff. But now, whenever I'm done with something, I hand it to someone.
Definitely.
And just kind of give that to them and get them started. Because the stuff ain't cheap.
No.
Not cheap at all. And you want, certain quality when you're putting stuff out there. And I can let you listen to some of my earlier stuff. The quality, you could just hear the bad equipment, like you hear it in the music. So that's a blessing to have somebody just take you and say, you know what, I'm going to invest in you, regardless of what the return may or may not be. I'm going to invest in you right now.
That's what he did, and it's funny you said with the old quality, man, because before he bought me a studio, right, BandLab on the phone is an app.
Yeah.
I used that app for 4 months straight.
Yeah.
4 months straight, man. I had a song that I did. The quality is so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But I put it out. It hit over 800,000 plays on SoundCloud.
Exactly. Sometimes it's not the the quality of the sound. It's just the content that'll keep people there. The same thing goes for video media. A lot of content creators on YouTube, they're so concerned with the equipment they have and how their set looks and the sound and this and that, instead of just focusing on what you're putting out.
Right.
That's usually the biggest thing.
What's the saying? Simple is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not always the glitz and the glam.
Right.
We talked a little bit about industry in general, and you touched on it when you said, it's not needed to have a deal. What are your thoughts on the state of music and newer artists coming up right now and their quest to get on, and not really needing to get on to be successful? What would be your advice coming out of having a deal and now being independent and really dedicating yourself to music? What would be your words to the younger generation that's getting into it right now?
I sit here now and I tell them now, I said, as an independent artist, you have just as good a chance to be successful as somebody that is signed to a label. And thing is, you being independent, you actually recoup your royalties. You recoup all of your money. That's your money. Where in labels, you're going to be getting docked. Everything, streams, sales, it does not matter. The only time that you will generally make money with the label is when you're touring. And if you're not somebody big, you're not going to be touring.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the 360 deals. And every artist a lot of people don't have money. I'm one of those people. I don't have money still. I struggle week to week. We make it. Right. Music will change that for me. But I mean, I was offered a deal and I could have taken it, but I would have been owned. I would have been miserable. I would have been miserable. Yeah, you have this money, but that's not my money. When they say, hey, we're going to give you a $500,000 advance. Yeah. Key word, advance. That's not your money. Yeah. So, and say, for example,
that's a loan.
Right, it's a loan. Yeah. Exactly, it's the bank. Right. So say, for example, you say they give you a 2-year contract, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to give you this $500,000 advance. They gave you this money up front. Say they, for some reason, they don't want to put your album out that you just worked 2 years on, right? Or a year and a half. They decide to shelf you. How are you going to recoup that $500K? You can't. Nope. You are now, you're stuck. Yep. And that's what a lot of these artists are coming into that I've noticed, a bunch of them, is they don't have lawyers with them, one, because they trust. That's the thing. That's the other thing I tell artists. Be careful who you trust in this business, man, because they will tell you anything that will make you be like, man, he really does look out for me. Yeah. He really has my interest. And 99% of the time, they don't.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all about what's on that paper.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said, muddy waters, man. Yeah, it's muddy waters everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some of the people you've worked. I know you spoke about some of the producers that have supported you as well. Sounds like you have a pretty firm foundation under you as far as musical support Let's talk about some of those producers and where they're from and what they, what they do in their endeavors as well.
Definitely. First guy I will talk about is in my first year going, taking this professionally. His name is Magic on the Beat, and he actually opened up beatflix.net, which is literally like Netflix, but for beats.
Nice.
So you pay for usually $20. You get over 200 beats a month that are wave, all that. And he works with a, eclectic group of like 3 to 4 other top-notch producers. He's worked with everybody from Rick Ross to Sean Kingston. So he's worked with some people, and he's based in Spain, but also comes down to Houston.
Okay.
And the way that he noticed me was on my Instagram, I do freestyles constantly. I love freestyle rap is what I eat, breathe, and sleep. It is, as I said before, it's poetry in motion.
Right.
And he saw this, and he continually just kept seeing, he's like, who is this guy? He's every day, he's putting just stuff out, and then when he's not doing freestyles, he's in the studio. He's putting stuff out. Like, who is he? So he got to start talking to me. He met me, and he said, hey, man, I want to go ahead and we got a new site coming up. I'll give you, $20 a month on it. I said, okay. So I paid the first, membership, and I put out my first album using his beats. Super5Stoned, it's called Legacy. I believe it's 9 or 10 tracks on that, and I used his beats. And after that, he told me, he goes, you get free beats for life. You have proved yourself. You work hard. You're humble. And I said, that's like hitting a lottery, man, as an artist. Yeah. Like, honestly, that's what that is. And
it's like if you're a painter with no canvases, if you don't have any beats, like you don't have anything to paint on.
What are you gonna do? It's like, what are you gonna do? So, but he was my first producer. And after that, I got a guy named Chaotic Beats that is super talented, and because my music's transitioned over the past 2 to 3 years, I've broadened it immensely. I tell people I'm not just a rapper. I'm a musician. I am musically inclined and what is better than crossing genres right now, right? Old Town Road, how many plays did that thing get? Old Town Road hit. It's still going.
Yeah.
So, but Chaotic Beats, this guy is super humble, and he was the very first producer. He made me a custom beat. I didn't ask for this. He didn't ask for any money. He said, hey, I love your style, and I've been watching you for the past 6 to 8 months. And he's been super supportive the whole time through that. And he was like, I would love to make you a custom beat. I said, okay. And that song literally just came out 3 weeks ago. It's called Teardrops. And that one was from him. Yes, sir.
Wow. Nice. That's cool, man. Tell me a little bit about the scene where you're now. Where in Texas are you? You're in the Houston area?
I'm in College Station right now, and College Station is predominantly a lot of country music, right? That's how it is here. But in the past 3 years I've been out here, there is a group called YCT Entertainment, and Daniel Garza, a good guy I met and got to know. They put on a bunch of shows here locally. Okay. And so the talent out there is so many talented individuals out here. It's ridiculous, man. You would think it's just a country town when you come here. It's a huge town and it's a lot of country music, but then you hear the rap scene, and then you hear they actually have a metal scene. They have different groups of music, but now hip hop is it's because you finally have people starting to promote it, starting to push it and be like, you know what, this isn't just a country music town. We all do music. So why don't we all come together and we make this something that can be big?
Absolutely. So you mentioned Old Town Road, and you're in a predominantly, I guess, country music oriented area. Yep. Do you think that has furthered the exception of hip hop in the country world and vice versa? Or do you think things have remained unchanged and that song was kind of like an anomaly?
No, I think it firmly has changed. Honestly, I firmly believe it's changed on both sides. On country music being accepting of hip hop, and then hip hop being accepting of country music. I mean, and what really did that was putting Billy Ray Cyrus on that song with them. And did you know he was not supposed to be on there originally?
No, I didn't. Yeah,
he was not. There's a female, I believe she's an R&B singer and rapper. She actually wrote the verse that he's doing.
Right.
He wrote it. And I was like, I would have never Never known that. And but they decided at the last minute put Billy Ray Cyrus on it. And I mean, of course, with him being in country the stature he is, that I firmly believe they could have done one of two things. They could have completely separated country and hip hop, and people have been like, "What is going on?" Or it's doing what it's doing now, where artists and labels have caught on to this. Managers have. They're like, if you can cross genre different from pop into rap, or to have, you know, country into rap, anything that you can cross genre, any type of music, you can make a hit. So you have that now. It's opened up a bigger gate, I believe, of creativity for individuals.
Wow. That's pretty huge. I know of the song. I've heard the song a trillion times because my daughter was crazy about it. But I have no gauge for what the effect was. I know there was some pushback. Obviously, there's always some people on either sides of the argument that are going to kind of knock any type of fusion with something they don't particularly have exposure to or don't care to have exposure to. But you know, music is music at the end of the day, and as they say, numbers don't lie. That song had legs, man. Like it has legs.
It's still going, man. Yeah. It's just still running. And you know what's crazy about him too is when you saw it before he put that song out, he did it with like the Red Dead Redemption video.
Okay. Yep.
So, and he had literally maybe 15, 20 bucks in his bank account.
Wow.
That song changed his life.
I think $20 is a magic number because whenever you hear these stories, they always had $20 left. Like
Joe Budden, I had $20 sitting there.
Yeah, exactly. $20 is a magic number. I'm about to put $20 in my account. Oh man. So you're in the Southwest. I'm in dead center of the Eastern Seaboard. What influence has music from this region had on what you do, starting from 16 all the way through to now? Because I know you have a whole hotbed of influences out there, man. The list goes on forever. And a lot of times I don't think we out here acknowledge the legends on that side as much, outside of the huge names on the West Coast, you know, the Snoop, the Dre, the this and that. You got your list, you know, your regular, you know, default list, but there's more. How much influence came from over here? And how did it kind of cultivate what you put out?
Definitely. It's had a big influence. I remember listening to Nas. Either came out.
Yeah.
And I was just mind blown, man. Like mind blown, because Jay-Z at that time, you know, was coming out and he was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna drop this at the same time as him, and then we're gonna see it happen. Nas killed him. Just plain and simple. Jay-Z's still hurting from that, if you notice, because Nas is putting out, they're both dropping on the same day again.
Right.
You know, so Jay-Z apparently hasn't ever gotten over that. But I remember hearing the lyrical structure, man, and it's just like, this dude is killing this dude with words.
Yeah.
Like, he's killing this dude with words, man.
It's not too often you go up against a giant and come out unscathed, pretty much. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you choose your shots, and that was a shot heard around the world. Like he went head first into it, man. But it was like I didn't know who was gonna come out of it because they both are who they are. You know what I mean?
Man. You know what I mean? So it was like Jay-Z at that time was really like starting to pick up and get big steam. And Nas is just like, I'm going to do what I do. And that's what he did, you know, and of course, Biggie. I mean, if anybody sits there and they don't say Biggie had some type of influence on their music, you know, especially my generation, you know, the younger generation, and it's a shame that some of them say, I don't know who Biggie or Tupac was. Are you kidding me? Like, how do you not, it's mind blowing to me, you know, because these guys paved the way, man. They paved the way.
It's interesting, the lack of respect some younger artists have for the people that came before them.
Right.
Even if there are people from that generation that I grew up in that I don't care for.
Right.
You don't have to love them, but you kind of have to respect them because they built the format that you're eating off of right now.
Very true.
So it always kills me. I've seen a few newer artists, and I can't call their name. My kids probably could, but I remember this one interview I watched, or this I guess footage they had of somebody on a tour bus, and he was saying that he was better than Biggie and Tupac, and this, that, and the third. And I can't even remember who. I know he had like red braids. Like I don't know his name. But
it was either Yachty, Little Yachty, or
yeah.
what I think it was.
And I was just like, man, like
Yeah,
wow, like how do you even approach claiming that you're better than two artists that have been dead probably before you were born,
right?
and let alone have accomplished more musically than you have? You know?
Period.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it just kind of kills me with the younger generation. But let's go into that trap versus boom bap. Yeah, because you kind of spanned both generations.
Definitely.
So obviously, at some point there was a turn, there was I guess a maturing of the music and of the times, and you kind of progressed with that.
Right.
How would you say your style changed from back then to now, whether it be from a production standpoint or just a rhythmic standpoint, your cadence? What is the biggest change for you?
All of my music has changed immensely, and it had to, because it's like you said, boom bap was really prevalent.
Yeah.
You know, especially late 90s, early 2000s. The beats were specifically, if you think, they would classify them now as boom bap or also East Coast type beats. They're like, this is the East Coast style, this is how, and it all has a particular sound.
Right.
So like 2010, 2011, Atlanta really started to pop with Gucci coming out, doing all his type of music the way, and he created trap. And then you had Jeezy, of course, came with that. But then the one I think really pushed the trap influence of sound was Future. When he started really pushing his sound in Atlanta, they backed him hugely. Right. I mean, dude's dope. I mean, I love trap music because of the beats, the producers that make these beats. And you got to think, mumble rap, which was going on for what, 6 years straight? This straight mumble rap, right? Yeah. What was making these artists? The producers. Yeah. The beats were so dope, man. So dope. But the lyrics on there, and that's when people started getting away from, well, I don't really care for lyrics. I don't care. And now, if you've noticed, it's transitioning away from that. Yeah. Everybody wants something that they can hear that has substance. So for me, being in both sides of this, you know, starting with the boom bap, you had to be lyrical. Right. You know, back then it was, you have to spit bars. If you spit bars, you need to spit 16 that are gonna be super dope. If not, don't get on the track. Yeah. Because it's not worth my time. Don't do this shit. So I'm like, okay, and that's the producer that told me that. And then when trap came about, it was way more melodic. There's certain melodies now. There's a lot more you can do instead of just saying, okay, I'm just gonna rap 16 bars. Right. Why don't you try sing a harmony on this? Why don't you sing this part? Or rap? Like Russ is a prime example of that as an artist. His type of cadence that he does, it's rapping, but in the same sense, he's singing the harmonies with it. Right. So for me, I've learned to combine them all. Yeah. You know, because a track, as you know, you can break down your verses with cadences different ways throughout the whole song. Right. So then your song doesn't ever sound the same, because I've learned within 30 seconds, people are going to either hit play again or they're going to skip it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, there's got to be something of substance in that first few. When I was growing up, I was a beat person. So if I didn't like the beat, like that's how I would go through an album. If I didn't like the beat, I would just skip until I heard something that caught me as far as the beat, and then I would go back and listen through the album like completely. But my initial pop in of a CD or a cassette back then, it was just skip. I'm trying to find that magic tone. As soon as I hear it, you know it. Stop. Yeah. So, or those first few bars, like, oh, wait a minute. Like, it's just a kind of the way I went through music. But now it's a little different, because in all this time in hip hop, there's this ebb and flow. Like you were saying, if you don't have bars now, don't even get on it. Right. At the dawn of hip hop, the DJ was at the forefront. The DJ was the headliner, and the MC was the guy behind him. Yep. And somewhere going into, coming out of the 80s into the 90s, that changed. Then you had the rapper with the DJ behind him. Right. Then going into, the late 90s, super producers started to pop up, and then they were at the front again.
and now it looks like it's winding back down and it's going back. And so it's just this over my lifetime. I just remember this constant change of whether it was the music or the lyrics that was at the forefront of the conversation. For me, it's always been the music, but
Right.
at the same time, you appreciate that a great producer can make an okay beat, and a lyricist can make it a classic.
Right.
And I think DMX is Dark and Hell is Hot is probably one of the most primary examples. Some of the beats are so simple,
Yep.
so simple.
And he transforms them.
Yeah.
That dude,
Yeah.
DMX is he's actually one of my favorites as well. I remember hearing him for the first time, and I was just like, you could feel what he was saying. That was one of the artists for the very first time that I could sit and remember and be like, I just don't hear, I feel what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's powerful.
He's also one of the few artists I think that was really, really spitting knowledge, as they say. Like, you know, a lot of people are under the assumption that spitting knowledge is not money. You're not gonna be successful if you're doing that, but he was spitting it in such a way that he was unstoppable. But what he was saying was the deepest stuff you ever heard in your life. Like, it would
blow your mind, man.
Yeah.
It blow your mind. If you literally sat there and listened to what he was saying.
Oh, yeah.
What
he was dropping gems for sure.
Yep.
For sure. What's next, man? We dealing with this whole pandemic thing. We're all trying to find ways to stay creative and create and circulate. Thank God for the internet, right?
Right.
We'd be at a standstill if it was 1992 right now. We had nothing to do. So what's on the slate for the rest of this year going into next year, as far as music and just putting stuff out?
Definitely. Well, I'm with the company Talent Lotto, and I've been with them now for 2 years as an artist. I also am full-time A&R scout with them as well. They actually have got on to this before the COVID stuff really broke down. Everything got shut down. I was on a phone call with him in February, and he told me, he goes, Super, everything is going to be broadcasted. I said, what do you mean? He goes, everything is going to be shut down. And he told me, he goes, this is going to last a lot longer than what people are anticipating. They think this is only going to be, and this was in February. He's like, people think it's going to be done in March, April, May. No. He goes, we've planned already. They have shows now booked till almost April of June of next year for live broadcasts. Nice. So, and they just partnered with iHeartRadio. So iHeartRadio is actually the ones putting them on, which is on a global scale. So I do have a show coming up with them, and hopefully within about a month or so, it's going to be huge. And then music-wise, I just dropped 6 singles in literally 8 days. I pulled them out. And it comes down to that question of how much music are you doing. People ask me all the time, do you just put out 1 album a year or do you flood it? You know, because that's people, they don't want, like, I don't know if it's a good idea if I put too much stuff out or if and I said, well, this is what I've learned is I was watching Russ on United Masters. He was talking about this and he goes, as a fan, say I Google your name, right? And you have 1 hit song out or a song that's getting traction, right? And I look at your catalog and you have maybe 3 or 4 other songs. I'm not going to be a fan. Right. I'm going to like that song, but I'm not going to be a fan. Whereas if you got, you know, say a couple songs that are pretty good, you know, you're not really known, but I'm going to check out your catalog. Say you have 30, 40, 50, 70 something tracks. Out of all these tracks, I'm going to find at least 10 or 11 that I'm really going to like. Right. And it's going to make me a fan of you.
Yeah.
And I took that and I was like, because I was doing it opposite of that before. I was putting out, you know, like 1 album, maybe an EP, and that'd be it. And I decided then I taught myself how to engineer. I learned how to engineer and mix my own stuff because producers, not all of them, there are some really talented producers that are really humble and honest with their artists that they work with, but you have a lot that just want the quick money. Yeah. So I learned how to mix my own stuff. So I was like, okay, you know how to do this. You have beats, you have record right here. What is going to stop you from putting out music? So I'm just, this rest of this year, I plan on releasing another. I've already released, let me see. I did 2. I got a full album released last month. I released 3 EPs before that in February. And then I just released the 6 singles in 8 days.
So COVID didn't happen, basically.
Moving. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Didn't stop a thing.
No.
That's how you gotta be, man. I mean, for us, you know, we had a studio space where we were doing art events and you know, we had a few open mics and things like that. But obviously with an event space,
Right.
you know, that shut us down completely. So
Right.
that's where all this was birthed from. But it also gave us the time to kind of formulate it and take the time to reach out to people. Like how many people do you scroll by a week and not stop to really, you know, in your little time, you know, on break at work and, you know, while you're cooking dinner or whatever, you're just scrolling. But this time out of work and everything just gave me time to really stop and listen and talk to people and reach out. And it's been transformative, man. Like people don't really have a scale of how many talented people are out there, man. Like there's a lot, and you would never ever hear of them if we didn't highlight each other. You know what I mean?
Right. Agreed.
And that's what this is all about. So I really appreciate you coming on, man. Just taking the time out to speak to me. Definitely listening for all your next projects and everything big you got coming down. Go ahead and tell everybody. I know you said everywhere, but just a few places where they can find you and your music and support you.
Definitely. And firstly, to you, I want to say thank you for even having me on. This is, and you know, I've told my wife this. I've told certain other couple artists I've already talked to. I said, what he's doing is he's doing exactly what it is to be successful. He will be because he's helping others and he's doing it unselfishly. That right there, man, that spoke volumes with me because that's how I am. I do the same thing you do. If I can help somebody, I'm going to help you. You know, so I just want to say thank you for letting me be on for that in the first place.
No problem, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, but link-wise, yes, Super5Stoned, SUPER 5, the number and stone. YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart. I'm trying to think of the major ones that usually everybody listens to, and Amazon. So Google Play Music, any of that, Super5Stoned. So I can promise y'all there's about 90 tracks out. So out of all those 90, I can promise you'll find at least 1 to 20 that you're gonna love.
Nice. I'm listening, man. Definitely gonna stay in touch and track each other's progress, man. We'd love to have you back on as you progress and become more and more successful. Wish you the best of luck, man. Again, thank you for coming on. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
No problem. This has been Phoenix 15 Studios Music. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for future episodes. All the links that I can fit in the description will be down there, so please click away and support Super5Stoned and all his endeavors. Have a good one.
Thank y'all.